everyone. Sorry, that's a little loud. We can make our way to our seats and we'll start. We're on a tight schedule. Thank you all. Well, good morning. My name's Melina Schiraldi, and I am on the Pre-Law Symposium, board. But I work with Haiti and Caitlin to try and organize today's events, and this is just such an amazing opportunity. I know people have told you that, but for all of us that have come before you, this did not exist and would have been so helpful. So please take advantage. One thing I always tell law students or prospective students, is if someone gives you their email address and says to reach out to them, ask them questions. Very few students or even law students, prospective law students, take us up on that, and we're serious. If you have questions, if you just want to know more about what we do, ping us. People that come here and volunteer and make themselves available at these events want to give back, so take advantage of that. In my day job, I work at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Salt Lake City. I do some environmental criminal work, and I also do civil defensive work. So if you want to do prosecution, I do have a couple criminal defense attorneys on our panel today, so you can talk to them as well. Or if you just have an interest in federal public service, please come find me after. I'd be happy to talk to you. So on our panel today, we always try and have someone from big law or a big law firm, someone from a small or solo office, and someone in-house, and also someone that is public service or nonprofit. And so it is my great honor, and I'll just kind of go down the line here, starting with Wayne. Shout out to all those athletes and mentees from the athletic department today here that are here maybe because of Wayne. Wayne is a litigation associate in the Salt Lake City office of Quinn, Emanuel. He joined the firm in 2022, focusing mainly on sports and entertainment law and government investigations. Wayne graduated from BYU Law School, where he also received all conference honors as captain of the football team, served as vice president for Student Athletics Advisory Committee, and graduated with a degree in piano performance and physical science. Wayne previously clerked with the Honorable John Pierce in the Utah Supreme Court and currently serves on the BYU football staff. Wayne is a proud girl dad of 4 daughters and is married to his wife.
No, that's right. I'm a girl dad. I don't know if you guys got that. I'm a proud girl dad. Go girls.
Jiro and I were talking today about when Jiro was president of the Minority Bar, we received Wayne's application for a scholarship, and Jiro was just reminiscing about how impressive Wayne's application was. So it's a great honor to have Wayne here with us. Next is Lisa Bohman. She's University Counsel here at the Office of General Counsel of BYU. Lisa joined the Office of General Counsel in 2019. She received her BA in History, magna cum laude from BYU, an MPA from the University of Utah, and a JD, magna cum laude from BYU in 2005. After graduating from law school, Lisa worked as an associate in the commercial litigation practice of Vancott, Bagley, Cornwall, and McCarthy in Salt Lake, a very prestigious firm. That's actually no longer in existence, but very prestigious. Lisa left private practice to join the Office of General Counsel at UTA, or the Utah Transit Authority, where she became managing attorney. Lisa served as BYU's Chief Compliance Officer from 2021 to 2023. Thank you for joining us, Lisa. Next is my dear friend, Jiro. When you have the opportunity to become lawyers, and Grace knows this as well, but sometimes some of the non-work opportunities and things you involve yourself with really make the difference and help you. Jiro and I were both on the Minority Bar. I served on his board when he was president, and we have remained friends, and that board is made of really lovely people, and I'm sure, Grace, when you were president, it's the same. So,
President, past president.
What? That's amazing. Jiro went to he's the assistant director of the Salt Lake Legal Defenders Association. He went to law school at GW, or George Washington University School of Law, then moved back to Utah to cement his legal practice. After a brief stint working with Manning, Curtis, Bradshaw, and Bednar as a litigation associate, he found his passion for public defense by joining LDA as a trial attorney. After nearly 10 years with LDA, he now helps manage an office of nearly 100 attorneys and a total of 180 employees. Jiro, thank you for being here. Last but certainly not least is Grace Acosta, partner and founder of Trujillo and Acosta Law. Ms. Acosta is a lawyer experienced in trial, arbitration, and mediation. Her practice includes family law, workers' comp, personal injury, business law, and wills and trusts. As we just stated, Ms. Acosta was the president of the Utah Minority Bar Association, served as Utah Bar Commissioner, and clerked for the Honorable William A. Thorne of the Utah Court of Appeals, and the Honorable John F. Wright of the Nebraska Supreme Court. Ms. Acosta is a graduate of Auburn University and and received her JD from the University of Nebraska. All these shout-outs here. Ms. Acosta is a judge and hears small claim cases in Salt Lake City Small Claims Court, is fluent in Spanish. She sat on the board, the Utah Board of Higher Education, and currently works as a chancellor to the honorary Uruguayan consulate to Utah. Ms. Acosta is high energy, hardworking, and our clients love her. Thank you all for being here. I want to make sure and leave plenty of time for questions for you to ask. I'm going to kind of start out. We've heard their bios and heard their career path. I'll start with Ms. Acosta and kind of work my way back, but just briefly tell us about your typical day.
Okay. Well, it's very varied, which means that I never really know what's going to happen when I walk into the office. As a consequence, I have to work most weekends. I hate to break that to you guys. There's no such thing as a fat cat as a lawyer, especially not in private practice. Saturdays are the day that I'm able to do most of my drafting. So I get up every morning at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, vacation or not, Hawaii or not, and I draft for 4 hours. I'm just going to be honest, so you know. Because otherwise, my days get so messed up with phone calls and just surprise things that happen, or clients walking in and wanting to meet with me, or associates asking me to review a draft and things of that nature. And I don't often get like 4 hours to sit down and actually draft something. And I still have to draft most of my unique documents. There's a lot of formalistic files that we utilize in litigation that are always the same, but then there's always that argument, that legal argument that has to be made, and that comes from the lawyer. And so that's what my Saturday mornings have been. And I've been practicing since 1997, and I would say I can count on probably 2 hands the number of Saturdays I have not worked. I'm sorry to tell you that. Okay, so and my husband was like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean?" But I get up early enough that when I have kids and was married, traveled, but I just get up early enough that I try to disrupt their lives as little as possible. And I'm a morning person, so I'd rather get up at 4 a.m. than stay up at 3 a.m. So everyone's going to have to use their own ideas. Most of the time, I'm on the phone a lot. I'm talking to clients, talking to counsel. I often do a court appearance a day at least. It's by WebEx most of the time, which is like the court's Zoom. So oftentimes I'm just in my office doing court appearance. And there you go. I do try to work. I work a modified schedule because I am a morning person. I get to the office at 6:30, and I try to leave by 3:30, and I don't take a lunch. And I hate to admit it, but I do work Sundays sometimes too, at least for a couple of hours, because if I don't check my emails by Monday morning, that email check takes too much time. So almost every 4 hours on Saturday, my entire career, and then I have to at least an hour on Sunday to check my emails so that I can get to the office at 6:30 on Monday morning and actually start working and not have to go through my emails. I looked yesterday, I have 24,000 emails in my inbox, and about 6,500 many of them I have not read. Just so you know. And so I have people on my team that have read them, but they're still sitting there for me to move over. I probably get 100 emails every 4 hours. That's just the truth. You should know that, because I am a litigator and I run about 60 cases at a time. Okay?
Thank you, Grace, coming in with reality.
You come to my house, you're like, hey, that's a nice house. That's a nice car. And then we're like, that's right. But you need to know how much it costs to your life.
Jiro, will you tell us about your day, but maybe if you weren't in leadership?
So I'm the number 2 in my office right now, and it's very different from when I was a supervising attorney or when I was a trial attorney. So I'll tell you what the average attorney life is like at LDA. We're the largest public defender organization here in Utah. We're also the most well-paid public defender organization in the country. Your average day at LDA is going to court and dealing with 20 to 30 clients every day. And if you're not in court, you're probably going to jail to talk to your clients who have been arrested and need legal counsel, guidance from whether it's court hearings may be. I think you have like an idea of what an attorney is. It's like always in a courtroom, always fighting, always like making arguments. But there are only 2 real careers that are like that day in and day out: prosecution, defense. And so we are the defense side altogether. We spend almost, well, I would say like 70-80% of our time in courtrooms, and the rest of that time is spending time with clients who are very needy. They have substance abuse issues, health issues, they have housing issues, and we try to be usually the only person ever in their life who has cared about them and has wanted to be someone who defends them or is in their corner for a lifetime of bad choices, bad spills, bad places where their lives are very much not like this. I'll just put it like that. This was never in their future. Nothing like this. That's the kind of clientele I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Jiro, who funds you?
So we're funded by Salt Lake County. That's where we get almost all of our funding, and then a little bit from Salt Lake City and some other organizations that are directed to give us a very small amount of money to help with side projects that we deal with, like helping get people substance abuse treatment and stuff like that. But I'll put it like this. We usually don't work past 5 o'clock. That's one of the good benefits of being a public defender until we have trial. Then it's Grace's lifestyle. I had a murder trial last year. It was 2 weeks long, and for the month before that, I was working exactly like Grace was working. And then during that trial, I didn't come home until like 10 o'clock at night and started court at 7 in the morning, handling motions and all sorts of very difficult things. So, should we be turning? Oh, well,
Sorry.
Being a litigator and trial attorney, I also just project. But anyway, so, yeah.
Jiro. Hey, Lisa, will you tell us about your day? And I'm sure you will, but what specific entity or who you advise within the university?
Sure. My day's probably not as exotic as the last 2 that you've heard, but just a little background about how the university in-house is organized here at BYU. We have about 14 attorneys, and each of us are assigned different clients around campus. So I work with Title IX, I work with residence life or housing. I have the law school that I also advise in different colleges around campus and other institutions. So that's kind of how it's organized. So I have long-term research projects that I will be working on. So during the day, I'll do that. I'll get calls from various clients needing different things, needing contracts, needing advice on regulatory compliance. And then I'll frequently have lots of meetings throughout the day, consulting and advising clients on various issues that they're facing.
Seems how you advise residential life. Do you ever get like a 2 a.m. call from the dorms or anything like that? Or are you pretty much 9 to 5?
We're pretty much probably 8 to 5, although if something happens, we're always expected to respond and help take care of it. We're fortunate here at BYU to have such a large support staff that typically if something were to happen, those calls would go to risk management first and then come to our office next.
And just following up like that, from firm life to being in-house counselor, even advising UTA, how is it different being embedded within the organization, within your client?
So I love the opportunity to help people. I didn't love litigation because it really didn't fit with my personality, because what I really like to do is to help people before the problem gets to litigation, right? I love to be a trusted advisor to my clients. I like to know how their business is, because the more I know about their business, the better advice that I can give them. Sometimes when I was at a firm, or the short term, the 4 years that I spent at a firm, I felt like my advice was kind of theoretical, right? It was studying the cases, it was studying statutory requirements, and that's what I could tell them. But now I have a better understanding about the business and what their real needs are, and so I can take that legal information and what I know about their business, and I can give them more helpful information and advice about recommending solutions to their problems.
Great, thank you. Wayne, tell us about a typical day for you. Well, first of all, will you tell us, your firm's pretty prestigious. Will you just give us some quick stats about your firm, and then tell us about a typical day in litigation?
Yeah, sure. So Quinn Emanuel is somewhat akin to BYU. We just win. Can I hear it for 8-0? Do I have any Cougar fans in here? All right, let's just start with that. I just had to say that because we have one of my mentees is one of the coaches for the football team, Christian over here, who has another career, is getting ready to apply to law school. Spent some years, graduated from USC, spent some years in the league. Now he said, I've always wanted to go to law school. Why not now, right? So got to give a shout out to him. Our firm is based out of right around the corner of USC. It's based out of LA. They're brash. They boast a win record. They try more cases than any other big law firm, and they have a 93% win rate at trial. So they'll let you know that. You don't need to tell them, ask them. They'll come and tell you how good they are. But my typical day is I begin in the morning with, I wake up a little before noon, and I meditate, I drink tea, then I do a little bit of yoga, hot yoga, and no, I actually don't. That's probably when I go to sleep. I work around the clock because being the litigation law firm that we are, they make money by selling your time. And so just to give it into some context, first years that come to Quinn Emanuel, you start off at $255,000. That's your base rate. Your next year, you jump to $275,000. By your third year, you're $325,000. By your fifth year, you're a little over $500,000. Now, everyone sees those numbers, but they don't realize the price you pay. The price you pay is you are working around the clock all the time, right?
What's your billable requirement?
So 1,800 hours is how much I have to bill. That's the baseline. You get a bonus when you hit 2,100. I mean, you get a bonus for every hour over that. Your biggest bonus comes when you hit 2,100 hours. A lot of attorneys wear it like a badge of honor that they bill 3,000 hours, and I don't want to be like those attorneys. But yeah, my typical day is I'm an early riser. I wake up about 3:30, 4 a.m., and I check my emails just to make sure there's no fires to be put out. Then I'll run over to the gym, do a workout over there. Then I'm back in the saddle by 6 o'clock. Working. Most of the times, I'll fit my schedule to what my daughters have. I have 3 daughters in high school, and it's so great. They know everything about everything, and they let me know that they know everything. Look, I'm the big-time litigator, and I lose to them every single time we argue. They let me know how to do the business, but I try to make it at every one of their sports games. I don't ever want to miss, even if that means that I catch 10 minutes of the ending, or I only catch 5 minutes of the beginning. It's important to me that I'm there, right? Then I go, then I'm always in the saddle, I'm always answering things. I travel a lot because we're a litigation law firm worldwide. One of my biggest clients is AbbVie. It's a pharmaceutical company out of Chicago, right? And because of that, they're all over the world. I have to make sure that they're taken care of. If there's something, and they're not immune to geopolitical, occurrences that are going on. So something happened, like the election, right? That sounded all sorts of bells and whistles. So I may have to wake up at 2 a.m. to deal with a problem in South Korea, right? Because I'm the contact that comes over from the client. That's kind of the life you pay, to get what you get. So you see the salary, and you're like, wow, that's sexy, that's nice, right? But when you have to pay for it, you just have to go into it. I understand why all of these ones jumped, and I'm sitting here in awe. I actually want to switch seats and listen to you guys. How do I get to become like you? But it does. Once you become partner, then you become, the average partner makes $6.5 million. And usually about year 7 is where you're up for partner. But that's the price you pay. You're working around the clock.
So 2,100 hours is 40 hours a week. What do you have to work to bill 40?
Great question. So even though I bill 1 hour, it doesn't mean that I worked 1 hour. Usually I'm at the rate where when I first started, it took me like 4 hours to bill 1 hour. Because there's a learning curve and they're all shaking their head because they're like, oh, condolences, right? They all know what I'm talking about, but it's true. I'm at the rate now, it takes me about an hour and a half. If it's really hard, a brand new project, 2 hours, right? Because I've got to learn the stuff that they're having me litigate. But about an hour and a half, I'm not yet at an hour for hour. So if I bill, like Melina said, 40 hours a week, usually that requires me to bill about work about 45 to 60 hours. In trial, just got back. We have a client that is always causing problems for himself. Good for us, bad for him. But Elon Musk, and we went to trial for him, and around the clock for 2 weeks straight, like I didn't see, the light of the sun. I was in the war room, which is what they call it. We rented 2 floors in the hotel, right, at the Four Seasons in San Francisco. And
sounds like a rough life. You're not like at the Motel 6.
I'm sure it's really nice outside. I saw the insides of room 303 is what I saw during those 2 weeks. So food was good. It reminded me of when I was locked up in jail. Just kidding. No.
Hey, that's not a problem. I can help you with that.
Maybe that's how we know each other. No, I'm just kidding. No. But that's how it felt like, right? I billed, so around the clock. So you're right.
Does your time ever get cut? Or as an associate, do you ever run into, or are your clients big enough that your time does not get cut?
No, it gets cut. So Google is a big client of ours, right? And they'll usually take their bill and they'll cut off what they will pay for and what they won't pay for. Our firm is such that they'll eat the billing for that, right? But if you keep on billing a lot and they're having to consistently cut your hours, you'll get cut from the team. And that's a hard position to be in, where you're reaching out and trying to find partners to give you work because it took you a long time to learn. Now, they cut you some slack. The runway's a little bit longer for those of you, your first 2 years, 3 years, but it's sink or swim, right? So I think, you're hitting on all the dirty laundry.
I think it's
on
important.
All the soft spots. You're right.
I think when I was in law school, 1, I didn't realize there were other attorney jobs than firm jobs, and 2, I just assumed that I'd be making Quinn Emanuel salaries when I graduated, and that's on me for not researching. But the others, we all have great careers, but we all get paid various things. And so I want to go down the line, and I want to start with Wayne as he's talking about this commitment to this firm. He's told us about his salary, and we can go back down the line. But I want to know why you chose this role. Obviously, $6.5 million sounds incredible, but as we work our way down, just tell the students and tell us why you chose this. Why are you working here?
Okay, so the question is, why did I choose Quinn Emanuel? Why did I choose a career in law?
Big law.
Big law. It's specifically big law. Okay, so initially when I graduated, I was going over to Holland and Hart. I had summered over there, and they were a great firm.
Holland's a regional firm in Salt Lake, very well respected, but not a national firm or international firm like Quinn Emanuel.
Yeah, so they're a regional firm based out of Salt Lake. Then the coastal firms came in, and I decommitted to them and went to Kirkland Ellis. I lasted there for about a week because I was a prize to be won, right? And I let all the coastal firms come to me, and I felt like the man, right? And Quinn Emanuel came, and Wilson Sonsini came, and they gave their offers to me, right? And I decided on Quinn Emanuel because of this one thing: the team that I work with, the team that I play with. As an athlete, having played in athletics at BYU, it's really, really hard to do my job. I was a running back. To do my job if I had a lineman that didn't want to block for me, right? Or a quarterback. Can you imagine how difficult it would be if you are back there in the pocket throwing a ball and it's perfect and the wide receiver doesn't want to catch it? It'd be really, really hard, right, to succeed. So I knew that my success depended on the person on my left and the person on my right. So that's what I chose, is based off of the team makeup at Quinn Emanuel here. Great group of people that look, the work is the work. But who would I like to be working with at 2 a.m. in room 303 of the Four Seasons, right? Yeah, that's kind of how I decided who would I want to be in the trenches with. And that's why I chose them. Why I chose Big Law is, look, I'm a child of poverty, right? My parents are immigrants. And I looked at what the salary was. And I thought of all the things that I could do. Well, the first question they asked was, what is your goal? My goal was to build a house big enough so my mom and dad don't have to work anymore. And I could move them in and they could live with me. That's the biggest honor. My parents are Tongan immigrants. To me, that was my goal. I wanted to have enough money so I would have arrived if I built a house big enough to bring in my parents so they can not have to work anymore. My mom works at a bakery at Smith's. My dad was a garbage man, right? They're both in their 70s. That is my dream. That's why I went after that. So, look, no one's doing this work for free. But for me, that's what made it worth it.
That's amazing. Lisa.
So my career has pretty much been mission-driven. So I went to a law firm knowing that I needed to get the training for 4 or 5 years, and I did that. And then I started looking around for in-house opportunities that connected with me and were things that I believed in. And I loved public transportation, and so that's why I chose going to the Utah Transit Authority. And I was there for 11 years, and then when the opportunity to come to BYU opened up, I jumped at it because I love BYU. So that's what's driven me. My career is just I want to work for a cause that I believe in. And I'll share a secret with all of you. I made less money every single time I moved jobs. So I took a pay cut when I went to UTA, and then I took another pay cut when I came to BYU. So it was never about money, as you can tell. It was about working for an organization that I believed in and doing interesting work. Great.
Well, I mean, I've always sort of been the rebel in my family. My brother and his wife, they work very lucrative jobs, much like Wayne does, and that's never been me. And I learned that working at Manning Curtis. But also I'm a person of color, and the decision for me to become a public defender happened right around when Trayvon Martin died. And I wanted to do something with my legal career that would positively affect the community around me in places where fights needed to happen. And I'm very proud that my job is about keeping human beings out of cages. That's fundamentally what being a public defender is. And the other way of seeing that is I keep criminals on the streets, which is fair. That's a very fair assessment of what I do. But the other part of it is I get to fight for your constitutional rights day in and day out. And it's one of the few jobs where I make sure that police officers don't break the rules, where I make sure the government shows its work before someone gets executed, where I make sure that if something fishy is going on in the prosecutor's office, I can make a motion saying this prosecutor's hiding evidence, and that's unconstitutional, and it shouldn't be happening. That's my job, and I've done that, and I'm very proud of that work. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm the number 2 in my office, and I make $160,000 a year. I started at 58 at a law school that at the time was top 20, and I have $300,000 in loans. So I went to a very good law school. I graduated top of my class at my law school. I was on Journal at my law school. And I was poor when I got out of law school. I was poor going at LDA, and I sacrificed big when I was at a law firm that was very comfortable for me, and I made triple what I made when I started at LDA, and I just barely got back to what I used to make 9-10 years ago. But I do it because I care about what I do. I care about my community. And it's very rare that you get to be in a legal field that aligns spiritually with what I believe in, faithfully what I believe in. It aligns with just the essence of who I am as a person. So it's why I am what I am.
So I graduated, wasn't top 10, I wasn't ordered the COIF, which is top 10, but I was like top 12. And by the way, when you're in law school, you know, the person in front of you, just like, that was super annoying that I wasn't ordered the COIF. But I graduated and I went and clerked with the Supreme Court in Nebraska because I knew that I still wanted to learn to think. So at my first job, I made $38,000 a year. I actually scaled that for a cost of living, and that was about $75,000 today. And that's about what law clerks make, I think, today.
Yes.
$75,000. Then I went and worked with the biggest law firm in the state of Nebraska, which was Kutak Rock, and I was making $58,000 a year, which I scaled again, which was $115,000, which was 1998. Okay, and I thought I was like the thing. I had $1,000 a week. I didn't have any kids. I mean, I was like living the lifestyle. And then my next job, I did about 90, which I scaled again. Just to see, I kind of want to see what it meant. So that 145, that would have been like in like right around the year 2000. Okay, so I've been at a big firm, like not a national, international firm, but a national firm, making tons of money with lots and lots of zeros, with GE and Google and big clients like similar to Elon Musk, whoever that person was in 2000. And I hated it. Oh my God, I hated it because I felt like all they wanted me to do was get really good at a couple of tasks, right? Because the zeros are so big, the clients are so demanding that you must be exceptional at your one task. And I thought to myself, I cannot get really good at a private placement and understand this 2 pages of this 2,000-page document and do this for the rest of my life because I just didn't like it. I remember my mom came and saw me, and she was like, I've never seen you so unhappy, living in the big house, driving a BMW and being all rich. And I've never seen you so happy in my entire life, Grace. And so I hate it. So then 9/11 happened, and the markets crashed. My husband's living in LA. I said, I'm done. And I moved to LA, and it's changed my life. And I decided I was going to give up big law firms, and I was going to try to do small law firms. And so I started looking for AB rated, which is like a rating that Mark Noble does for law firms, AB rated law firms that were like that had like boutiques, litigation boutiques. And so I started focusing on litigation boutiques. And ever since I left, ever since 9/11, I've worked in boutique firms. And so I started doing high-level litigation, but still going like 2,300 hours a year. I remember one year I billed almost 2,400 hours, and I got divorced the next year. Okay, so I want you to think about that, okay? I had no kids, I billed 2,400 hours, and the next year my husband was like, I never see you, all you are at is in that hotel room working on trials, and I was having the time of my life, guys. I thought it was so fun. And my marriage fell apart. So everything has a price, right? So that first husband fell away, and then I kind of had a realization that maybe this is really hard. I was in my 30s, I didn't have any children, I was divorced, and then I decided that I was going to try to do boutique firms doing insurance and defense work. Insurance companies will pay you well, but they're not like Elon Musk, they're not like Google. So your salary goes from 400,000 down to 250. And by the way, guys, no one started at 250. And so I said, and then I got married again, and I had children at 36 and 39. Okay, so I have teenage. I'm a girl mom. So I had kids in my late 30s, and then I decided I was going to work at law firms, doing this kind of middle point, right? Not crazy big law like I was when I was younger, but not LDA. Well, I was telling my applied for LDA, I didn't get the job, and unanswered prayers pushed me in a different direction. So I was in the middle firm, and so then I was a partner at 2 middle-sized law firms, making a very comfortable living. And then one day, then my parents died. These are all life events that changed the way we look at the world. And my entire life, I too am an immigrant's kid, raising a bilingual Spanish home with parents who always wanted me to succeed. And sometimes when you come from nothing, the only measure we have is money. Because, you want to, show your parents that you came to America for a reason. You sacrificed for me. So I'm going to go and make $400,000 a year. And I'm going to live in a big house. And I'm going to make you come live with me. My parents live with me until they die, too. And I'm a little older than Wayne, just saying. When my dad died, I got liberated from living the immigrant kid's dream of making my parents proud. And I decided that I was going to do what I wanted to do. And that's when I had a person who's like 10 years younger than me, Carlos Trujillo, and he was working in the Hispanic community doing immigration. And he was calling me, I was his mentor. And so he was like, will you come help me with this divorce? Will you come help me with this business contract? Because I don't do that stuff. And slowly but surely, I started practicing law in Spanish, something that I had avoided for 20 years. And suddenly I was like, this is the most rewarding work I've ever done. I'm helping a community that's underserved. I'm helping a community that's growing and absolutely needs quality representation. It's going to be taken advantage of by other people. And I thought, let's create a law firm. So now I own the only all bilingual law firm in the state. Every one of our attorneys speaks Spanish and English. We have 7 attorneys, 55 staff. Everyone is bilingual. So thank you, because I really think it's awesome too. There was a niche that we saw, and I just followed my heart. So now at 53, I just turned 53, I am doing what I fought against doing my entire career. And everything that I did before was super helpful to get me to where I am today. I wouldn't have the discipline that I have today if I hadn't been in a big firm. And I wouldn't know how to even follow the work I did if I hadn't had to be a partner at other firms. But here you are. So I guess what I'm saying is that there's no linear path with a law degree. You can go so many different ways. And there's my story. And now I make a very healthy living. But most importantly, I support 60 other people's choices too.
Yeah. Grace, I was going to ask, I think sometimes out of law school, I see students that will just go out and try a solo career. So 2 things I wanted to ask you with your own firm. One, what other stressors do you have with running a firm? Obviously, you just said you're responsible for 60 people's livelihoods. But what is that? I want to get to some questions, but what does that feel like? And also, I think one of the things I hear from solos is how to manage taking enough clients, but not too many clients. And what is that balance like?
It is very difficult because you realize that in addition to practicing law and doing your interrogatories and going to court, I have to pay the bill, do payroll, pay the rent. I have to order paper, the copier machines. I mean, not anymore because now I have 2 office managers. But when we first started, we're literally 3 people in an office and I would get a notice from the bank that we forgot to pay our mortgage. And I was like, oh my gosh, how is this possible? I mean, we have money in the bank, but I'm so busy doing my other stuff that I wasn't able to run the business. So lawyers are notoriously bad business people, okay? And a law firm is a business. So as soon as you can afford it, you need to hire someone else to manage you. And I remember being all scared of hiring someone for $50,000 a year to come and be my office manager. Office manager is a lot more than that now, just so you know. But when I first started, I was so terrified that I would pay them first and then pay me. But they keep the wheels on. So you absolutely need to understand that if you're going to go out and hang your shingle, it is a business. Now, when I was a partner at a major law firm downtown, the first $50,000 I made a month didn't go to me, it went to the firm, and then I had to make over that $50,000 a month in order for me to take home my salary because there was so much overhead. And then when I went out on my own, because before I joined Carlos at Jiro, I was by myself. And I was like, wait a minute, the first $50,000 comes to me. This is awesome. And before, in order for me to take home $300,000, I had to make $700,000 in first sales. And then suddenly for me to take home $300,000, I had to make $330,000. And I was like, well, this is the bomb. And now, of course, I'm back to a heavy wagon again. Because you grow, now I got to make all this money again to make it work. But and knowing your own limitations, and so this is the problem with small firms or with solos, is that you don't want to say no to someone that comes in the door because you just always feast or famine. You're worried that the next client may not come in, and so you say yes, yes, yes. And that's what affects the quality of solos, is that they're spread too thin, right? Because I have to take every client in order to keep the bills going, but you have to have faith that God provides and that the world just works like it's supposed to work, and that you have to know your own limitations, and you can't, if you can't do quality representation, you must say no. And just wait till the next client walks in the door, right?
Oh, thank you. That's really important. So we have about 10 minutes for questions. Don't be shy. Back in the blue, back row, second to last row.
I'm wondering, for people who have worked in law firms, did you ever worry about the kind of clients you were representing?
For people who've worked in law firms, did you ever worry about the kind of clients you were representing, or like the work that you were doing, as in kind of its effect on the world and other people? And if so, how much leeway did you have in declining or accepting that work?
Zero discretion. They give you a client, you work on their file. You have to, and also you like this, like you're so stressed, right? And you're just doing the work they're giving you. You very rarely have time to self-reflect like that. As a solo, absolutely. I turn people away all the time if I get a weird vibe, or I think I don't like your compass. We're not simpatico, but as an associate at a law firm, zero discretion.
Yeah. Lisa, what about you? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that I must have made a lot of bad choices, because I did, after my first year, I had done a lot of family law, which I just hate, because there's just no winners in family law. And so I did go to the family law practice group leader, and I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. I said it nicer than that. But then I didn't do it anymore, because I think that there is, I think you do have some, I guess it depends on where you work, but at least where the firm where I was, they wanted you to be happy. They wanted you to get into an area of law that you were interested in, and that was just something I wasn't interested in. And so we had a conversation about that, and I didn't have to work on family law issues anymore.
Great. Let's take another question here. Oh.
Diane, you.
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Deanne. The question that I have is, what was your experience, and I don't know if you guys have spoken on this yet, but like, what was your experience in finding a position after you passed the bar exam, or just looking for a job? Was it difficult for you? And yeah, what was your experience?
I was supposed to work for the Federal Election Commission as an election attorney, and right after I graduated and got that job and worked a long time to get, the government shut down and I was fired. And then it took me 2 years to move back to Utah and then take the bar in Utah to then work at Manning Curtis. Usually it's a matter of when you have your first place, it gets much easier if you decide you want to move elsewhere. But that first place is really hard, and it depends a lot on the economic conditions you're in. And when I graduated, everyone had their offer letters rescinded from my law school.
What year did you graduate, Jiro?
2011, right in the middle of the economic downturn. So hopefully that's not what's in store for any of you that might be going into law school. Like, things are okay and everything else, but like, having gone through a very hard hiring phase, it just takes more time. And you have to be willing to grind to be able to pay your bills and everything else. But it paid off for me at the end. I don't think it's been that way for everyone else at this table, but
97, we all graduated jobs. It was a good.
And law school was like $4,000 then too.
I graduated with $17,000 worth of law school.
No, I'm serious. Early 2000s is where you start seeing the law school tuition just skyrocket. I'm a 09 grad and very well aware of those that were able to graduate before. One thing I was going to say, when you all do go to law school, 1L year is incredibly hard and it's just getting used to. But we take interns at my office, and a lot of the time when I come to the law schools and network, you guys are so freaked out about law school and grades, which you should be. I was not order of the coif. but you forget that you need to look beyond, and you don't apply for internships. Or like, oh yeah, OCIs are coming and I haven't put in an application. Like, be thoughtful of that when you're in school. Like, if you don't intern, you don't network, you don't meet people, you don't get experience, you have nothing to put on your resume. So as you're entrenched in torts or real property or civil procedure, whatever you take 1L a year, like, just be cognizant of you've got to carve out time to put your resume together to apply. It takes time to apply.
And can I add, so this is a very unique thing from literally every other place. Public defenders don't care about your grades. And the reason why is because they're going to teach you how to be an attorney, how to be a trial attorney. They're not going to teach you that in law school generally. And I promise that to everyone who applies to my office. Your grades don't matter at all to me. I don't look at your GPA. If it's not on your resume, I don't care. What I care about is, do you have a demonstrated interest in wanting to be a public defender? Because if I don't see that, I turned away the top student at University of Maryland because I didn't see it. I turned away a Harvard grad. I turned away quite a few people who were at the top of their class at Ivy League schools this year for people who had like 2.5 GPAs, but they've been fighting for public defender. In fact, like we wanted to hire one person who has recovered from heroin and is a heroin addict for 10 years. I don't care about all of the accolades you can get in law school. What I care about is, do you have the fight to do what we do? Because I can't teach you how to care. I can't teach you how to care about my clients. That is not anywhere else in the legal community where that's just not the experience. But if you want to be a public defender, it's important that you understand this now. You've got to demonstrate that you want to be a public defender, because we're very good at picking apart people who don't. And people who are just like, well, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll just see what being a public defender is like. No, we don't want those people in our, we weed those people out immediately.
And I think the accolades the reason people like the accolades is because it shows that you understand that you're part of something bigger than you. Because so much about being a good lawyer and a good counselor is having compassion and understanding real life experiences and being able to be able to give good sage advice, like you said, being a good advisor. And so the only way I know how to measure you is, were you in a club? Like, did you actually give of yourself to other people? So when I hire you, I absolutely care how much you've given of yourself to other people, because that's what this job is. We give of ourselves to our clients at every turn.
Time always goes quickly. We'll be up here after, so if you want to come ask us questions or talk to us, please do. I want to follow up with one last question to the panel. What's one piece of advice you give to the next generation? Start with Wayne.
Okay, so if I could talk to Wayne before he started a law school, I would have said, don't do it. No, just kidding. I wouldn't have said that. I would have just said, don't be ashamed of where you came from. Your path that led you from where you are now to the law school. And what I mean by that is that there's a place for you. In the audience, there's a mentee of mine whose family are refugees from Congo. There's also another mentee of mine who came from foster homes, right? And my thing is, yes, grades are a data point, but it's not everything. And when I just interviewed the number one of my class who got done with appellate clerkship in New York, right? The federal appellate clerkship. And I was sitting there interviewing him, and I thought, how odd. We're both number ones, but on either end of the spectrum, right? That's a joke. See, that's funny because that means he's number one and I'm down here. Okay, anyways. So the problem is, the issue is it was interesting because the number one thing I look for is your path and where it got you to where you are. That kind of tells the tone of where you're going, the trajectory of what you can achieve. So my first thing is, know that you belong here, know that you can do it, and then just show up and show out. Don't be afraid, and we're all here for you. Reach out to me anytime. I probably won't answer your call, but still reach out. No, I'm just kidding. Reach out anytime.
Because we're at BYU, I'll say this. I'll just advise all of you to invite the Lord into your career path. Yes. None of you will have the career that you thought that you would when you're sitting here. And I think all of us would agree that none of us have followed the path that maybe made sense all the time. But when you involve the Lord and you respond to those promptings, that you will always be in the best place because he loves you. And I'll just leave that there.
The advice I would give myself is, I've always known that I'm a rebellious person and that I'm the kind of person who wants to break things. In my legal career, I fought that because I didn't want to be another minority who's a public defender, because there are a lot of us. And I struggled a lot, and I wish I would have told myself to be who I am. And to follow what was just said, I'm not a member of this faith community, but I'm Buddhist, I'm Christian, I am many things. And I have found that when I do the things that speak to my natural calling, I'm never happier. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of opportunities to stray from that path as a lawyer because it's so wide. There's so much you can do. There's so many experiences you can have to be the kind of attorney you want to be, and there are impulses to go every which way. The person you were before you were in law school is going to guide who you're going to be afterwards, and don't shut that down because you think it's appropriate to just do the one thing that everyone else is doing. There's a lot of fishbowl nonsense that happens in law school. Be you.
Thanks,
do you.
Thanks, Jiro. Grace, we're over time, but let's get your thoughts
So
quickly.
if you're in line to do something, whether it's to be an associate or to be a professor or to be a partner in a law firm, and you don't like the person in front of you, get out of the line. If you need to associate and surround yourself with people that feed your values and your internal moral compass, and if you do that, you'll end up being happy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you to our panel. I also want to note that all of their emails are up on the screen. Take advantage of it. And again, we'll be here. Thank you again, panel.
We do interns in our office. If you're a Spanish speaker, I want to know you.
I've hired people that are in this audience 3 years down the road. Yes. I've made those hires. So please reach out. We will respond.
Thank you. Okay.
We have a 10-minute break. If you do not need to use a restroom, I would come talk to these wonderful people. These are some talented, awesome attorneys who are willing to talk to you. So 10 minutes, and then before you come back at 11:30,